This is Jeffrey Scott, podcast, The Ultimate Landscape CEO. Today we're talking about sales. Now's the right time to be thinking and locking in, if you haven't already, your sales goals for your team. And I'm going to talk to you and give you some insight in this in preparation and sort of in honor of our upcoming Sales Symposium, March 10th. We have two great speakers, guest speakers, really world class, or I should say industry class, two of the best on sales management in our industry. I'll talk about that a little bit later. And one of the topics of the 10 we're going to tackle is sales goals and setting sales goals. Actually, we'll tackle probably 11 or 12. I just got some of the new topics in from one of the speakers. And so I want to talk about sales goals right now so you can start to grab on to some value and start thinking about sales goals. Traditionally, sales goals have been set by the owner, the sales manager, and that creates failure up front when goals are assigned top down and you get compliance, or you get your salespeople saying, sure, okay, yes, compliance, instead of a real commitment, right? And so the goals are forced upon the salesperson, and the salesperson's like, if I don't hit my goals, you gave me my goals, right? And therefore, there's sort of a detachment, if you will, not by all salespeople and not all the time, right? But by some of the salespeople, some of the time, especially when things are tough. And so you really want your salespeople setting their own goals where possible, right? So they have instead of my quota, they've got my commitment. And then managers can spend time testing assumptions regarding just negotiating the numbers with the salesperson. Having said that, if a salesperson sets a goal too high, you've got to bring them back in a little bit. Now, I think all great salespeople always have a number higher than you have, and that's fine and that's good. If the salesperson, however, sets a sales goal too low, then you've got to really work with them to understand what they've hit in the past, what they need to hit now, based on your commission setup and their salary, et cetera. And even if they're on full commission, you still have expectations, right? Handing them leads. And even if they're creating their own leads, they're filling a spot where they've got to hit some benchmarks. And so you want to set these goals together with your sales team, your salespeople. And if the salesperson helps create the goals, they can much more easily defend them, implement them. And really, that's what you want. Having said that, you've got to break these sales goals down by type and by month. You don't want just annual sales goals. You want monthly sales goals. Monthly sales goals feed into monthly revenue, and one precedes the other. Hitting the sales is actually a leading indicator to hitting the revenue. And so break it down by month, and not just across the board, divide by 12, but really looking at historicals and understanding. And granted, it's not exact science. It'll change year to year to year, but looking at historicals to know when leads tend to come in, or when buyers are in a buying mood, or when past business developers were able to bring in leads, and then creating these monthly goals so you have accountability. And if you involve the salesperson in the monthly goals, that's where you start to get that accountability. And I would even set those sales goals by type, right? In maintenance, it's very easy because you have re-signs that happens in the first quarter. You've got enhancements that happens throughout the year, but in certain times of the year more than others. And you've got new sales, which could happen in the first quarter, second quarter, and some in the third quarter, and a little bit, tiny bit in the fourth quarter, depending on where those leads are coming from. And so maintenance is easier, but different product lines will need to get business planned in. And so even if we're selling different product lines, I would set your sales goals by type. you're going to have different strategies around those sales, different effort levels, different support from other people in your company, all those reasons. It's good to set those goals also so that revenue can be planned so that your people doing the work, the schedule, the production schedule can be, that's planned right in with revenue. It's really one and the same. And so that everything can be planned ahead of time. And so it doesn't stop there because what's a leading indicator to the sale? And that's the activity. So when you've dialed in the sales goals, you can dial in the activity goals. And this is one of the few parts of your company where it's easy to measure not only the sales but the activities, right? The phone calls made, the proposals given, the job sites walked, the clients visited. You can measure deal size as well and closing ratio. Deal size is more about the activity and the input, although it becomes the output. And closing ratio is how we're connecting the two. And so you want to measure activity as strongly as the inputs, the leading indicators, as strongly as you measure the outputs. And so when you've set this all up, then the manager's role becomes one of confirming, not dictating, right? Salespeople are super optimistic. And so when the salesperson's kind of creating their own business plan, if you will, for how they're going to fulfill their commitments in the year. And as I said before, great salespeople, they have their own private goal to do even better than what they're telling you. And so I like the idea of having a conservative sales goal that you've got to hit that's going to hit your baseline revenue, and then having stretch goals because not every salesperson will achieve their goals. And so you do need some of your sales team overachieving, absolutely, because someone's going to underachieve. I was just listening today about how when you invest in different funds in the stock market, there's always going to be a X amount that will always underachieve. It's the law of nature. And so you need in your own portfolio certain things that are going to overachieve. Same with your sales team, your sales goals with your sales team. And so when you have this kind of buy-in and broken down by month, and you got the activities, then you can start managing and make mid-month adjustments, behavior changes. Then you get to really become the coach. And this is all what we're going to dive into in our sales symposium. There's a link in the show notes, and we have an early bird discount. It ends towards the end of February, not at the very end, but towards the end. So pay attention and sign up now for this March 10th. Every person who signs up needs their own ticket. We have some discounts for multiple tickets. And so I want to sum up here setting sales goals that these should happen with business developers, with salespeople, design build, with maintenance salespeople, with account managers, anybody who's selling, even project managers, although that tends to be gravy. But if you have a project manager who's core to the selling process, and I've seen that quite a bit as well, we actually did a lot of work with Drost helping them set that up years ago. And we have new clients that are doing that in the design build realm. And so they too need a sales goal, right? It's not just gravy, but really part of achieving your revenue. All this will help you as a sales manager and as an owner, maybe as a division manager, create goals without getting your employees to just shaking their heads yes. But when the poop hits the fan, when you get punched in the face by the economy, by the market, that the salespeople as well will take commitment, take that punch, and do what it takes to pivot and to modify behavior and activity and even effort in order to hit your sales goals. As promised, let me tell you about the guest speakers that will be partnering with me for our sales symposium. As I said, world class or industry class. The first is Josh Robinson, the Director of Design and Sales for Todd Services in, I was going to say Hamburg, Michigan, but really they have 3 branches. And he oversees a team of about 25 people, salespeople and sales support. He built this sales team really from the ground up, started as a sales person and early on, and really has grown with the company and built the sales team. And he's going to be talking about what he sees as most important for you to be able to attract, train, motivate, mentor, give direction to, whatever it takes to build a killer sales team. And he has done it in spades year over year. He's had his own ups and downs. And so, it hasn't come easy, right? He's really learned along the way. And so he's going to be one of our 2 guest speakers. And the other is Neil Glatt. And Neil is a coach, if you will, for sales managers. He does a lot of hiring of sales managers and coaching of sales managers, and even does some fractional sales management. And so he's going to bring his experience, but also he's done his own benchmarking, or he's part of a company that does benchmarking. And so he's going to be able to bring data as well as experience. And he's going to talk about what he sees as the most important items that you would need to be dealing with as a sales manager in 2026. And by the way, we're doing our own benchmarking when you sign up for this symposium. So you can benchmark closing ratios and what top salespeople are selling and different KPIs that we have put into this benchmark. And so you'll have some solid information to see where you stand. Also, in the breakouts, we'll have one breakout in the sales symposium. You can then compare notes with other people. So a lot of value in the sales symposium. I really hope to see you there. And let me close by saying the following. So I'm hoping you have a great 2026. It's going to depend on sales, right? Everything in life seems to be a leading indicator, if you will, towards hitting your financials, which is your lagging indicator because it reports how you did after the fact. But your mood, your motivation, your tools, and how you manage your sales team, measuring lead flow, tracking activity, your training, right? The amount of training you do, the one-on-one coaching. And we're going to cover all these, what I'm calling everything's a leading indicator towards hitting your output, which is the work done in the ground, the bill paid, right? That's when we know we're hitting our budgets and our goals and our cash flow goals. And so that's what we'll help you with. I hope this podcast here has helped you as well and given you some ideas. If you have other topics you want me to cover, let me know. Email me. Email me at jeff@jeffreyscott.biz. If you've got guests that you want me to cover, let me know about those guests as well. If you want to be on the podcast, if you think you have a unique story to tell that will be beneficial to this audience, let me know. We have a bunch of podcasts I've pre-recorded recently with guests. I can't wait to put them out. But for today, for this week, go crush it with sales and make it a great day, a great week. Be that leading indicator in your company who brings the positive attitude and the service attitude and the helping others and helping others see the light, keeping people motivated. Be that leading indicator and that guiding influence for your company.